because Instagram is on like a horizontal, or sorry, vertical format. It's like ugh, some things get
Right.
cut off. So, but I don't know. Like for like the purpose of what we're doing anyway, you know, as long as like we got like some good stuff just to talk about and
Yeah.
show. Doesn't matter if it gets cut off
Yeah.
too
And see, that's
much.
what I'm saying. Like, even when I'm
Hopefully, I
doing
don't
it
know.
right now, you know, like I hit this on Instagram now, and it's just like, oh, hey, you know, you can't. It's like it's all awkward. You know what I'm saying? So like, I I got it streaming on
Yeah.
Instagram right now, and it's just like you only see so much. And so
Oh
unless I do
yeah.
this deal where I like greatly shrink the screen, you know, and just say,
Nah, don't do that.
here's this.
Please don't
No,
do that for the folks who may be watching on their iPod Nano. Please
right.
don't do that
You know what I'm
for
saying?
them. You know what's crazy? Like I was like listening to like a YouTuber who was talking about like the possible resurgence of physical media, but specifically, I think it's either in Japan or China somewhere they developed this technology to be good, basically be able to hold like what was it? 200 something terabytes of like data specifically for like DVDs or movies or whatever. So essentially like imagine like having like 700 to like 2000 movies on one DVD.
Right. That would be crazy.
And just like for the physical, yeah, and like just that idea, um for the purpose of like, okay, the physical media heads who still are around can have that luxury. Because it's crazy to think about it. Like as much as like I appreciate some physical media, the only one that really kind of still appeals to me is obviously like floppies or like um trades for comics. But as far as DVDs, like I don't know the last time I bought a DVD. One, my PS5 is all digital, so it's like I don't have any needs for like purchasing the actual CDs, and they're probably going to move away with that. Like PS6 or whatever comes
Right.
out after five is not going to have any type of like a port for CDs or anything.
No, it's not. And like,
Yeah, so it's going to be
yeah, that's gonna
digital.
be a very interesting thing when that happens. Cause like,
Well, when that happens, and eventually will, the whole thing that some people actually have been like complaining and arguing on the internet, and it's like it's kind of crazy, but like in some forms, people who've had like VOD or like what is that called? I forget like what is it called? Like when you basically have like all digital library of like catalogs and stuff. Basically, some people have complained that like they've lost some of their stuff that they've purchased, where it's like,
yeah,
oh, it's
like
no
I
longer
hate that.
there.
Like I hate that idea that because it's basically you're basically telling people like, hey, you know, you don't own your stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which is crazy. It's like, well, I pay
And
for it. It's
like
like, well, yeah,
I
but
think I seen a
it's like
headline where
it's like
like
okay.
some rep at some game studio was like, oh yeah, you know, people have to accept that they don't own the stuff that they buy. What? Like, no.
No, why? No, why would
Like,
they accept that? It's like that's yeah, because people, yeah, they want people on a subscription because like they want to basically tap into like how the rest of the world
yeah.
works, which sucks. But it's like health insurance, car
Like
insurance,
everything wants
that's a
to.
subscription. Now, granted, it's like yeah, yeah. Now, granted, there's some things that obviously are very important for like health insurance and dental and all that. But it's like, man, the fact that like the way America works is we get not only like penalized, but it's like it's kind of like a societal thing where it's like, oh, you need health insurance, and like I'm not saying that like you shouldn't, but it's like the fact that other countries don't have to worry about that kind of premium like that, where it's like, well, our government pays for it. It's like our taxes go to it as they should be.
Right.
But no, the fact that you have to have health insurance, um, in their like BS ways, like, well, because we don't want like these huge amounts of medical debt coming up from people who just come in with like these expensive like emergency procedures and blah blah blah, and they're not covered, and that falls in the hospital, all that. Yeah, yeah, I get that, but it's like no, you literally, it's like, and as a kid when I was growing up like learning about this, like, so if I'm paying for medical insurance, where's that going to specifically? Like, is it going to like a kind of revolving bank that's like building up towards whenever like my possible next accident? No, it's going to people just getting paid just to run it. It's like, oh, so literally like I'm just giving you money because without something happening, which they always like to impose on you, is like, well, hey, one day it will. It will, and I'm not saying it can't, but it's like just that whole idea. It's like, no, I just want to get paid from like the taking advantage of like your situation of like being a human, and like that would be like if like the toilet paper industry took advantage. Like everybody uses toilet paper. Well, I guess except for the people who use those bidets.
Yeah, don't hate on the bidet, man. Like,
but everybody
bidets
uses toilet
are
paper.
awesome.
We're gonna jack. Yeah, we're gonna jack them up to like $20 per roll. It's like per roll, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna figure out how to like use recycled paper because I'm not doing that. That's literally what people are doing in certain industries. Like they want to take advantage of like, I want more money and I want it to be consistent. I want a subscription. I want you to be paying me consistently.
Yeah, and like I hate that because
it's
that's
hard.
literally how they really want to do things. Like that's how I was thinking about that with fucking Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like my girl was talking to me about Walmart the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, you know, Walmart's trying to basically do what their other company Sam's Club does, you know, and make and basically make like a subscription for Walmart."
Wait,
yeah.
a Walmart membership?
I was like, why would?
Oh,
yeah, like why would you do that? Like
you would go. Like, listen, Walmart is for the bottom of the barrel. Like, listen, I need something. I ain't making dough like that, but I just need something, and I need it just conveniently now. That's what Walmart's for. That's honestly the value of Walmart, just being that conveniency. You jack it up, make it to a premium like a Sam's Club. Oh, it was like, okay, well, let's see what Target's got. Like literally, we'll just go down the list. Like, what else is available? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, why would you? That's like counterintuitive. Plus, you already got Sam's Club, so why would you?
But ain't nobody trying to play them like premium for. I get it because like I go to we got a thing called BJ's here, which is basically like Costco's. But even Costco's, man, got more stuff that I value compared to Sam's Club. And I've been in both, but it's like, yeah, Sam's Club is definitely a more premium kind of like Ferrari in comparison to other places.
Yeah, and it's just like, Sam's Club and like Costco. Like my girl, she was talking about getting a Costco membership, like, today, and like she was like, I got to look at what they are, like, you know what I mean, just because she goes to Costco, she uses her mom's Costco card like religiously. You know what I'm saying? So she really does.
Man, is this you? I know, it's like, I remember like the first time like my dad wanted me to get something from Costco's. He said, just run in and use his car or whatever. It's like, do they check IDs? Like, no, they don't. But always the fear is like, wait a minute, what's your name? And my name is the same as my dad. It's like Charles, but it's like, and like if they were doing like ID checks, which I'm glad they don't, because as many people kind of come through there, it'd be annoying. But yeah.
Hey, Cameron, I didn't realize you were still waiting on your order. Send me a DM, like, and I'm gonna get you together because I gotta get like another guy together too on his order. So send me a DM and let me, like, if you still got your order thing, just send me a DM and we'll get it straightened out this week. Because I want to try to straighten out everybody. There's been a couple other people that I had to straighten out, so that'll be a thing. But anyway, Charles, what were you saying now? No, what were you saying? You were saying about, I guess, like, Sam's Club. You were saying something else. Something else about the Sam's Club.
Oh yeah, just like, I'd rather go to other wholesale places, but yeah,
I dig it.
Yeah. But man, also like on another subject, completely different from this one, man, just the AI.
Yeah, I saw your
Every
thing where somebody considered themselves an artist, an AI artist.
Basically, and it wasn't like a specific person, but it's like there was like, so recently, I was watching this YouTube video. Matter of fact, I'll send you the link to it. But it was this thing that, and I think it happened like a month ago, that this one artist, and I think he's a comic book artist, who was having a debate with this English UK artist or AI prompter. I'm not even gonna say artist anymore, but like an AR prompter, and basically going back and forth between like, the pros and cons, or basically the whole debate thing. Like people like to, like you see like those big like political or religious debates that like, one side will definitely try to be more like pragmatic, and the other side will come with that same viewpoint, but then from like the um, bias of obviously being in the affected party. So, but it was pretty good. But I definitely admit, like during the time I was listening to it, it was hard because obviously I stand on the side of like no
Yeah.
AI, and there were some things that I could see where people are coming from, like why they want to use it, but overall, like I know
Yeah,
where I stand in regards to like what it achieves, but also what it like uh what's the word for, I guess, endangers or detriment to, because like clearly AI is for people who want the glory and they basically want the fun, well, not say fun, but like they want the prize that comes with like being a good artist without being an actual artist. And then obviously there, in this debate, there was a lot of people talking about where it's like, hey, listen, there's just as much creativity that goes on with AI in regards to like I'm putting the pose, I'm putting in like the descriptions, and as part of the art process. And it's like, it's just like this whole thing of like
yeah. That's like,
the concept of like nothing has like, should be out of reach, and not to say like this in like a sense of gatekeeping, but the idea of like, well, I shouldn't have to do these things to get this result that I want. Like I should just be able to have no barrier to entry
yeah,
without work. And again, like their definition of like what work constitute, like it was just a whole like frustrating, obviously for me to listen to, but nonetheless, I wanted to like just at least, because like I'm always appreciative, and I feel like everyone should be in the position of hearing people out, even if they don't agree with the position they're coming from, but understanding their perspective and how they get to that. And I know some people listen for the sake of like, well, I want to hear your perspective so I can disavow and tell you why it's wrong. I don't like doing that, and I don't ever want to do that. But I understand that um, there is, a perception, or not perception, that's not the right word. There's like a starting point for like where people get to like their thinking process of like why they are behind like a specific viewpoint when it comes to anything, but specifically for AI. And I know someone also brought up like the aspect of like, well, what if you have somebody who's like really into art and loves art, but say that at some point they lost their hands tragically in an accident, and they couldn't, from whatever reason, from that, use their hands to physically draw art. It's like, well, what about them? Like, are they allowed to do that? And it's not a black and white issue. It definitely is very tricky in some areas. And even with that, I would say that like my biggest like stance and how I feel about it comes to the fact that people who are trying to cut ahead of the line and be in a position of like, well, I make art or AI art, and therefore I'm going to sell it as a product and getting paid for it. That's where I find absolute fury when it comes to me for like trying to get into that space, because ultimately, yeah, I get it. People want to like, especially if they have like a passion or project or whatever, but it's the idea that like it should be considered equally, if not the same thing, in regards to being a part of that process and being a part of the art community, especially when it comes to like the industry side of things. Because at one point I was like irritated. I was like, man, why couldn't they like just go to another corner of like the media section, do this to like some other industry, and like, it's not something I actually want for anybody else, like whether it's like animation or to even think about Hollywood. We already saw publicly on the news like how they reacted to these studios, like, and not even the possibility. It was like, we can do it, we want to do it. It's not like we have done it, but we want to just make it like full steam ahead, where it's like, yeah, we're replacing actors. But yeah. By the way, for those who are on Instagram who joined, Key Energy, I see you up in here. Thank you for joining. If you guys have any questions, like we're just here chatting it up, me and Fred. But if y'all have anything y'all want to say in the live chat, go ahead.
yeah,
Fred,
definitely.
yeah. But I don't know. I don't know, like if you've like
Yeah,
paid
like
attention to
so
any of that or
it's
heard
it's
stuff or even like me, if
it's
you are.
it's interesting to me, um, just because I'm like, man, uh, basically, I I feel like what I've come to understand is like there are certain uses for AI, but like you know
Yeah,
AI should be used to, in my opinion, AI should only be used to do the tasks that you know no one wants to do anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, like with
yeah,
VFX, you know what I'm saying? Like the most tedious thing to do in VFX is like rotoscoping. You know what I'm saying? So, like because basically, for those who don't know, rotoscoping is basically where you take a person and you have to basically kind of cut them out of a frame. You know what I'm saying? Cut them out of a green screen, because even when you do green screen and chroma key stuff, you still have certain artifacts and things that don't always come through. Now, green screen and chroma key stuff is like way better now, but like you still gotta do stuff to clean certain things up. And so, rotoscoping, because it's like a thing that's super old, uh, like that should be a thing that, like, as people who are in VFX should be like, okay, let's do this so we don't have to spend all this time, because rotoscoping is very time consuming. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's
yeah,
like I don't want to have to do rotoscoping, uh, and spend like 10 hours doing like this one scene when I can just have AI do it. You know what I'm saying? See, that makes sense. You
yeah,
know, so
yeah. Because here's another thing too. Like, and that was where like it's crazy because like in the argument they were saying, or this one guy was defending, it's like the automated process. He said like even within like certain programs, there's automated processes. So it's like, why couldn't this be seen in the same way? Like for instance, like he gave an example of like he basically did like a kind of rinky-dink, and I'm not gonna lie, it looked bad, but like a rinky-dink sketch of like a character you had, and then he fed it into like the algorithm um, program, and basically what it did is spit out an image that like had the same exact pose, but it had a very different rendering style, structure, like everything you see in like kind of like a very high concept fantasy art type of illustration. And the artist who was like on this chat was debating with them. Was like, okay, so you basically fed this like image in, which granted, like he drew it and like it didn't look too bad, honestly. But I'm just like compared to how like it looked when it came out as AI, all buttery and very like glossy and high concept, like clean and very sharp. The argument was like, well, how could you say this is your art? Because like there's nothing from your original art that's in there. And like the AI guy was like arguing, I can't agree with that. It's like, how can you say there's nothing from there? And it's like, and I was saying like, yeah, there isn't. The only thing that's from there
right,
is the pose. That's it. But it's like there is no thumbprint. There is none of your
yeah,
DNA. The fact is, like, I can almost imagine like going for like let's parse this out to like the future. Going to a convention, a comic book convention, and saying like it gets to the point where it's like, yeah, these conventions are letting AI artists in, and it's like that's just where we're at. And hopefully, that's not the case eventually. But basically, some person comes up to like a table of like the artist, they like their stuff, whatever. Say, oh man, would I be able to get a commission of like this character? And then what would the AI artist say? It's like, oh, well, I have like a digital tablet, I can basically sketch it out, whatever, sketch it out. And then I have this printer and print it out. It's like, oh, cool. But it's like, well, can you do like a personal one, like on paper? I would love to have like an original piece of art. It's like, ooh, sorry, I don't
right,
do original art. It's like, oh,
yeah,
I see why. It's like, oh, is it, you don't do it or you can't do it.
yeah. See, that's
Because obviously what you're selling here is not what you are able to do with your fame. This is not your, DNA being put into like this piece that you're drawing. Because ultimately it's the machine that again takes data from, which a lot of places now, because like there was actually one lawsuit that apparently was lost because they didn't have enough. Well, they said they didn't have any significant evidence, but there was a lawsuit brought up for like some of the creators on DeviantArt that their data, these images they would have on there, were being used for this like
right.
machine learning, and obviously without like compensation or consent is the big thing that was brought up. but the counter argument to that was like, well, where's the proof? Because apparently how it works is that the data that's being fed there is like from like the trillions and trillions of like different images from all over. They won't say where specifically, and they want to keep it that way. But basically, so it has to come from somewhere. And there's a lot of these things that we're seeing. It's like, no, this is definitely like this program was trained and fed off of things such as like Stanley Lau, Art Germ stuff, or some of these other big creators. And to say that like, oh no, it's not copywriting. It's like the point is it's using it from somewhere, and it's based off of these things, and the things that are being put out there from people who've actually created it, and they are not getting compensated or consenting to do that. So that's what it comes back to. But it's like there's always a circle argument. It's like, oh well, there's no way to like pinpoint exactly where the data was like scrapped for, and there's research to say otherwise. But that's just where it's just a merry-go-round of like arguments and debates, and it's sad.
Yeah, it's really terrible. So, and I just don't. It's one of those things like, you know what I'm saying. Like as time goes on, I really hope that somebody like is kind of like pretty much they figure out a way to like protect artists, but like obviously in situations like this, like artists are the last. That's like the last people who ever are protected in like legislation. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and that's the very like what's the word I'm looking for? It's the very I'm forgetting like our economic
capitalism
system. What's that called?
It's capitalism, man.
Commercialism, yeah, or capitalism. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. It's very much like the capitalistic way. It's like people at the top do the least amount of work. People at the bottom do all the work and get paid the least.
Yep, that's exactly how.
And you wonder why, like growing up, I've always wondered. It's like, oh, okay, so that's what capitalism is. Like, why are people so mad at communism? I mean, you mention that word to like boomers and beyond. They always like spit like, oh, you should be hung up by your toes and whatever. Don't ever mention that word.
Yeah,
communism.
But communism is like
why is that? Because I've always wondered as a kid, like why is that so bad? And obviously communism.
Yeah, communism isn't.
But I will say this:
communism just isn't practical just because like
directly in the face of what capitalism is, because it's the whole like top-down system where it's like from like the top up, get the most. And the people who benefit from that, of course, they would like be very against that. Now, again, not saying that like that's what we should do or even can do, but it's something to think about. It's like the idea of like, because in like a not even just like straight up communism. I forget what was the in between. It's like there's communism and Marxism, but there was something in between that where it's like it's almost like a blend of like communism and capitalism, but specifically
I think it's socialism.
Yeah, but specifically,
I think that's what it's socialism basically. So
yeah. Okay, but basically the idea is that like the people who are doing the most amount of work get the most amount, like farmers and other people. Like literally, it would be like the artists and writers who make the product, and like freaking like this entertainment spectrum would get the most amount of and not like like absorbent like ridiculous amount like these CEOs are, but it's like they're the ones who make the thing that makes the money. That's what it's been for the beginning. That's the whole debate, and well, not even debate, but just like the frustration that the actors had and the writers had was like, yo, like this doesn't make sense, and this can't continue. It's like we are literally making the thing that's making the money, and I've always wondered, it's like, well, is it possible? And I'm not saying that like people should lose their jobs, but like it's crazy to hear like when Bob Iger was like coming off his whole thing talking about like, man, you guys just need to get back to work. You're just causing so much frustration. It's like, get back to work, make money. He didn't say that, but that's literally what it came off as. And just thought about like, well, what if like society banded together and like I could not see it like it would happen, but I could almost see like, man, this would be the narrative. It's like, all right, like the 1%ers are like past due to pause. No, sorry, my live stream paused for a little bit, but it's like the 1%ers are making the most money in the world, but also like for the most part they're kind of almost seen as like objectively out of touch from like the rest of like society, specifically with like the social and economical
Right.
classes. And because of that, it's like, well, man, like if you're making it hard for the rest of us could just band together. It's like, okay, well, how can we figure out to cut you out of the process? Because basically, essentially, they are the middleman.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just like where it worked out to where like there could be a direct to consumer from like um, you know producer to consumer, then it would just be the artists and creators, and then the people who buy the stuff. That would be it. But instead, you obviously have like these execs who's like, well, no, we want to be involved. We want to get that, and we want to be at the top.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that,
So yeah, and it's just like
so
everything is like you said, it's just basically kind of from the top down, the way they see it, the way they work this, and like with Bob Iger or what, just any corporate guys, you know what I'm saying? Um, you know,
yeah,
their whole thing is, hey, let's just create. We know what's best for the consumer and all this other stuff, but that also comes down to you know the way they look at it is they're just like, oh well, since we know what's best, we know how to yeah,
we should get the
yeah,
most.
we know how to like we get to we get that you get those people that are like, we know what's best, so we know like how these markets work, and we know what's gonna work creatively, this and this, and like the reality is like you don't, because like people's tastes change, and like sometimes like especially in the situation with like Disney, you know what I'm saying? They believe, hey, we're too big to fail, so how could we ever we can never like uh, have a bad idea or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? And then
Ooh, that's what they said with the Titanic, and
yeah,
look what happened. Yeah, there
exactly.
you go.
It's just like, and
It hurts.
especially if you've had like a string of hits, like for like Marvel with them, they were they had a stream of hits. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, oh, we know what's up. We're good. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be invincible forever.
And that's the wrong lesson to learn, because like the truth is, yeah, I mean, even as it stands, historically wise, the MCU is like the biggest, longest like running, profitable franchise in the entire history of
Mm-hmm.
movie cinema.
Yeah.
That's just the fact. But that shouldn't teach you the wrong lesson. The wrong lesson is to say we cannot do any wrong. It's like, no, you stuck to what worked, and you had someone at the helm who knew what worked and proven it time after time. You literally had a quarterback who basically had proven himself multiple
Mm-hmm.
times and showed that there were some things that obviously didn't do as well as other things, but comparatively speaking, still pretty good. Like Thor: The Dark World did much better than like the last like 3 or 4 movies that came out from the MCU recently, including obviously what was it, Miss Marvel, Ant-Man, and what else came out not too long ago? I forget, but yeah,
Yeah.
just misses.
Like, I mean, they've had consistent misses, and it's just like, but you also had a guy. I always blame this on the fact that you did have a guy that took over for a little bit of time. That was basically
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah,
Mr.
we just need to
Chapek.
or Bob Paycheck. You know what I'm saying? We just need to make as much
Yeah.
stuff as humanly possible, and like. He tried to break the system. You know what I'm saying? Just because he was like, well, no matter what we make, it's never gonna fail, so we're good. You know what I'm saying? And then, quietly, like everybody was like, you're overtaxing the machine, and we're gonna quietly get rid of you.
Yeah. Now I will say this though, it would have been interesting to see what would things have been like. Probably would have been the same, maybe a little different if he came into his term of power during a non-COVID period. Because granted, like when he took over as a CEO and chairman, or not chairman, was just CEO, he basically came in like with a sinking ship already. He had to take over because also like I forgot if he was like simultaneously still running the parks division as well, because that's what he initially came in as. But he had to do that plus everything else during COVID when people were freaking out and like doing things like all right, we're just gonna put this thing on streaming day and date because listen, we crisis. So like it was literally like in him coming to a burning building. So there's that. But regardless, there were some very bad moves that didn't help in general, especially like the whole thing like where I think one of well, like a lot of people say one of his biggest mistakes is like having a public like how do I say it like a crap throwing match with Scarlett Johansson on public spaces about like her whole like movie deals rights like for the whole
Right.
Black Widow movie because like that was a disaster in itself. But the fact that like they double down, it's like oh no she's crazy, she's ungrateful, blah blah blah, and it's like that
And
was
then
not a good look for
she
them.
was getting ready to walk, so you know what I'm saying. Like they had to run interference. Like what's the name had to like basically be like, hey, let me get her on the phone because this ain't looking good.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
you know.
that was little. And again, not to say they'll obviously like as some people like to call him Big Papa Iger. Not to say he can't do no wrong. He's obviously said some things that put him in a bad light recently. But when he came, or when he came to like Chapek's rescue in that situation, he was like, "Yo, yeah, this is not." It definitely felt like an Anakin versus Obi-Wan moment. It's like, Anakin, what are you doing? He's like, they have to
Right.
pay. It's like just like absolute madness. It's like, yep, this seems good to me. It's like you're on the dark side. It's like, nope, I'm in the light. I'm doing good.
So
So
yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. And like something else I heard about that too, which was interesting, is the fact that like, so you remember Ike Perlmutter, right? So you know, yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
he has allegedly like there's a guy that's basically kind of positioning himself to be like one of the newer shareholders to the company, and
yeah,
he's like a Perlmutter guy. And basically, if he gets enough like, I think it's if he gets enough power on the board, it's one of those things where he's going to try to get Perlmutter back on the board. You know what I'm saying? And like that
See,
would be crazy.
this whole succession stuff like really is like the kind of stuff that it's the reason why we're having like these problems. The fact that like first of all that like well, Disney and Marvel are owned by parent companies like it always like just throws things into just a mess.
Right.
There shouldn't be this whole like these political like fiascos when it comes to companies that are affecting things we like, things that we wish could happen and happen in a great way and in a good manner of time. But no, it's like, well, we got this person who really doesn't like Kevin, so they're trying to, basically stonewall him into like giving his power over to a banker and other people who don't deserve to be in these positions. And they're just messing everything up. And it's like, yeah, this is why we're having terrible movies. This is why, like, there was like an article, and I'll never forget it, like the picture that was like portrayed in this like op-ed. Basically, it was like people walking away from like the MCU, like fans out of like a bad movie with like their like gear of like nerd costumes, whatever, and like in the trash can. It's like, oh, well, I guess that's done. I guess the MCU is over, and this doesn't matter. Because like people were at the height and pinnacle of like nerdom because of like what happened in the movies. And there's still obviously a big hype and everything, but it's lost its luster. So thankfully, some of these new things that are coming out like has some more promise, and there's kind of a little bit of a break that's happening because we only got Deadpool coming out this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, like this is the best.
Yeah,
it's the
got a
best
lot
thing
of
for
work to
them
do.
because, like, you basically can build up anticipation for one movie instead of three. You know, and
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their takes on like what happened because some people were like, oh well, because Avengers didn't. Nobody ever made like because they didn't have an Avengers movie, so obviously like that's what screwed them up like in this phase or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I mean that could have been a thing, but like to be honest with you, like at this point, what most people want is they want like basically an Avengers. They want the old Avengers. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want like a new set of Avengers and all of that. Like,
Well, here's the thing. I'll say this. I actually disagree with that. What people want
I mean, they
is
want good stuff at the end of the
What
day.
people
Yeah,
want is things that,
like no
yeah.
doubt.
And here's the thing. Guess what? Guess what? The Avengers before like Iron Man 1 wasn't good stuff in people's eyes because
Right.
they didn't know about it. They knew about it after like what, like 5 years, getting to like consistent banger after banger after banger type of like project and movie
Right.
and announcement, and that build like a genuine trust and brand. And honestly, I could see it as like, say, just okay, like multiverse, this whole scenario. But basically, imagine if like you've seen like the pictures online of like, oh, the '90s version of Avengers, like an AI depiction of like, oh, Mila Jovovich is Scarlett Johansson, Tom Cruise is Iron
Yeah.
Man, and so on and so on and so on. That looks cool. Although I will say the whole like, what was it? Leonardo DiCaprio Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's kind of terrible.
But like, I like the concept of like Brad Pitt as Thor. It's like, okay, maybe. I mean, I forget how tall Brad Pitt is, but you can put on the muscle. But anyway, I was like, that's cool. If they did the Avengers in the '90s with that cast, with the direction that Kevin Feige did in the script, because let's be honest, like that Joss Whedon script for both Avengers 1 and 2,
Yeah.
it's what made it. It's what made it. And no matter how you feel about him, with all his like garbage that he has going on,
Yeah.
he's a great writer. And if you had that exact same mashup but with different actors, I feel like you would have had the MCU in the '90s. It would have been what it was back in the hype of like 2008 and beyond, like in that midsection between 2008 and 2015. It would have been that.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. So for me, it's not even a matter of like having the old Avengers back. Because guess what, you can. They're getting older, and eventually, they're gonna retire or die. That's
Yeah.
just the fact. So like, I'm looking forward to like this whole thing. A lot of people, I don't understand it either, because like I've never been like a huge fan of the Young Avengers, but I hear like a lot of like online people talking about it's like, oh my goodness, doing a Young Avengers.
No,
is
the
terrible.
Young
I'm
Avengers
like,
is
why?
actually a good idea because here's the thing.
It
Like,
apparently everyone else is like no, and they give like very convoluted reasons.
it's
why
like
to go.
the Young Avengers is a good idea mainly because like one, you already know that you like. Here's the three people that everybody likes. They like Iman Vellani. They like
Kamala,
what's his name? Scarlet Witch's or Black Widow's sister. They love her, and they love Kate. Yeah.
Do they? Sure.
No.
Okay.
Black Widow. Talking about Black
Okay.
Widow's sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
Black Widow sister. Okay, yeah.
No,
I
no,
just said
no.
Black Panther, my bad.
You know what I'm saying? Florence Pugh, I think that's what her name is. But so they love Iman Vellani, they love Florence Pugh, and like they're pretty good on Kate Bishop. You know what I'm saying? Like the girl that plays Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
So they're good on all of those characters or all those actors as well as their characters. So yeah, but like the biggest problem is like what these fucking dorks are gonna be mad about. It's too many girls. It's woke. Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna cry about that. Because that's what they know to cry about.
Yeah.
But like the fact of you still like when those characters are on screen and they're having their interactions, the vast majority of people love them. You know what I'm saying? Because they always steal the scene. They always steal the show. So it's like, how do you not like if you make a movie with all three of them, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they actually are playing off of each other and doing something cool, and you got a good villain, with a solid story, then like, where do we?
Oh, the good villain is a must. I mean,
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
is, like, evident
that's
of that.
always that's what I always tell people with Captain Marvel is like,
I mean, technically, this goes back to Thor 2.
because the problem with Captain Marvel was
What was the villain's name from that again?
What was that girl's name? I don't remember. Like with Thor 2, I get.
Exactly. That is the reason. I made that point too. It's like, what's her name? Don't even remember. It's
Darvin,
actually Darvin is the character's name, but it's like
The main thing
nobody
about her.
remembers. That's how
The main
bad.
thing about her was like every time I saw her, like I was not scared. I was like, she has very kind eyes. You know what I'm saying? And
it's not even about like how she looks, or it's more so like what is her backstory, what's her motivation.
Yeah.
They're not compelling. They're not compelling, and honestly, not to say that you had to do this, but it's like that was the cool thing about Thanos. Like it literally spent majority of the movie in the beginning to build him up, and that was like a hard task. That was like a very hard task for someone that we only seen in a post-credit scene, a small scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and yeah, that was not an easy task. That was definitely like a Herculean task, like to bring him to the respect and fear that was needed for his character to work
Yeah.
in those two movies.
But like the big thing about Thanos is the fact that like you knew he was looming, um, after the first Avengers movie. You knew he was looming, and then like he was just in a couple of post credit scenes, and it was just like, oh snap, who is this guy? And then you see his moment.
Yeah. Well, I think like what really helped too was that.
Yeah, I
scene
was gonna say
in, like,
the scene in
where
Guardians
it's,
2
gives,
is like
the line where it's, like,
is another thing that sold him.
yeah.
Because it was like, oh snap, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? And like, he's gonna be.
He gives out these like grandiose threats, waxes poetic, and backs it up basically.
And so it was like, once he finally made his appearance, after all these movies, then it was like, oh crap, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, and I think the thing that set it over the edge too is like the fact that like okay, and I hate that like Hulk was just cannon fodder after that point, but it's like you had to like have him beat the Hulk in a very quick and merciless way to show the extent of who this guy is. Like, oh, if he could take out the Hulk like that, which
what can he do?
Again, like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what can he do? And then you give him this gauntlet on top of that. I'm glad that obviously like they didn't run into like the wall of like, well, we're not going to do the gauntlet because like he'll be a god.
No, you
like,
have to do the gauntlet.
You can just write him. Just you're the writers, make it work. Because like essentially it's like, and I'm glad that like it wasn't like a big thing online, like where like the super nerds like, listen, if he just had one of the stones, the reality stones, they would all be dead consistently. It wouldn't matter. Reality bending. Like, what's the point? That's literally what they could get into. But it's like, no, just story wise, they made it work. They figured out a way, and that's what I love about like good writing. Like,
you gotta figure it out.
You're
Like,
the writer. You can make it work.
With good writing, you gotta figure it out, and you gotta make it work, and you gotta like make it make sense. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even a writer, but even I understand like the whole reverse engineering of like
right.
build up and plot. It's like, okay, you want to get to this point? Well, how do you want this to happen? How do you build up to it? You got to ask those. You got to ask those questions.
And I think some people like I think some people don't realize like it does take a lot, and it does take like kind of a Herculean effort to do it. You know what I'm saying? But when you do it right, man, it's like, and it pays off, and like people get that payoff, and they the best thing is like when you see people grow with these characters and all that other stuff, and so they'll have these moments, and they'll have these moments, and they'll have these things that like stick with everybody. So good example, you know what I'm saying? When you think about like, obviously the best example is when you think about like, Tony Stark's arc. You know what I mean? Like his overall character arc.
His arc reactor. I know.
But like the whole thing with him is just like, because you grew with him for like 10 years. You know what I'm saying? You grew seeing him, pretty much like develop into this person, go from like, this complete asshole to like this guy that was like,
this dad from that to a dad
to being a dad, and then like you felt like you pretty much were winning with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and pretty much at the end, once you got the end game, and you had that moment where he's getting ready to figure out like, oh man, the calculations for this thing, like there's a chance that this thing doesn't work. Is like, but there's a chance that it does. And then like he's just like, we'll get it. You know what I'm saying? So he doesn't make the video to like his daughter and stuff, and it's just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? And it's just one of those heartfelt moments. So, I think that's a big thing with like, good character development, like, because you felt it, and then on top of that, like you got to think about how he reconciled with Cap. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the thing that
Yeah.
kind of made me mad about like when you think about Batman, Superman. You know what I'm saying? It was like everything that like Warner Brothers wanted to do, like Marvel had already done. You know what I'm saying? But they did it because they were patient.
Yeah.
And like so when you finally had Batman v Superman, and in this fight, it like there's no weight to it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in your actual source material that you got that stuff from. There was weight to it because there was an implied history that had happened for like forever. You know what I'm saying? So if you got these these guys who have been friends for 30, 40 years, you know what I'm saying, finally coming to blows after this, and they're old men, and it's just like, damn, it's a big thing, or
Yeah, because even Civil War, as much as like I still contest it, man, it would have been awesome to see it actually actualized from like the pages from like the book, which I know people always say is like, dude, get over the fact that an adaptation is not going to be the same thing. I get it, but listen, I'm biased. I think Civil War is like one of the greatest events in comics ever. As far as like an event comic, it literally changed things. I was listening to like an interview with like Joe Quesada talking to Mark Millar, and just like that whole era of like Marvel when they were working there. It's like it was like on a crazy level, and I totally forgot that Bendis was a part of that like talk, that roundtable talk, so to speak, of like kind of figuring things out. I forget what they call that. It's like a specific thing they call
Marvel
like,
House of Ideas.
Who like directs? Yeah, no, there's a specific term, but anyway, it's like anyway, I forget what they call it, but anyway, yeah, because that's Bendis' Avengers also like kind of took off too from that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of. It's definitely a time and like a lot of stuff where they were able to be like more creative with like how they were coming up with stuff, and sometimes like you just hit that vein where like stuff is just absolutely flowing, and
they were just doing stuff too. Yeah, they were just like, they weren't beholden by it. They just like, hey, like, why do we have to not do this? Like one of the conversations they had, like I forget, like there was an editor in the room. They basically said like, oh yeah, this is like when Bendis had asked the questions like, okay, who are on the Avengers? Like, why is this person on the Avengers? Like, who is this guy? Nobody knows him. Like, why aren't there all-stars in the Avengers, like such as Wolverine or Spider-Man? And one editor apparently stood up and was like, because Spider-Man and Wolverine wouldn't do that. Wolverine's a loner. Spider-Man is the everyday little guy, street guy. So it wouldn't make sense. And then someone responded with, it's like, dude, it makes sense because we're the writers. We can do whatever we want. And apparently, like, that, he got up. He was so angry and irritated with that response. He just got up, and they were like, oh, snap. But then apparently, like, the next day, like, he came back and said, hey, listen, I lost my head. I apologize. Yeah, you're right. We are the writers, and we can dictate where this goes. But sometimes, like, you get a little bit too attached to, like, the toys that you create or have an invested interest in, and, like, you lose sight of, like, the bigger picture. And I was like, oh, so, I mean, obviously, I haven't written anything yet for myself, but it's like, I can see that possibility in the future where it's like, no, like if you were like, to have your brand go even beyond where like other people are writing for scrap, and it's like, if we're gonna have Shannon do this, like Shannon wouldn't do that. Now, granted, there are certain things you do want to keep in your core characters like character and not have them cross certain things as they should, like Batman.
Right, because apparently that's a thing that's being argued now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not now. It's always
like I've seen more people
like
doing video essays on it more recently. I know it's always been argued, but like people are really like getting into this whole thing, and I'm just like, dude, it's
actually, and for me, a good percent of it comes from people just loving the trolls. So like at Fuel the Fire, it's like people get upset about this. I want to weigh in. I love this. Let's start. Let's throw a can. Let's throw a Molotov in the crowd and see what happens because it sounds fun.
Right.
That's what it is. But then there's got like the percentage of people who like literally try to like comment from like an altruistic perspective. It's like, no, just practically it doesn't make sense. Like Batman has to kill at some point. There's just no way. And they obviously bring up the whole Joker thing. It's like, well, look at that one Superman story where like Superman killed the Joker because he killed Lois Lane. It's like, you mean the
Right.
Kingdom Come story?
These stories that are like
So
technically more set on the outside of everything.
the stories that are basically still trying to like stay on the fringes of like, the Britain
Right.
invasion of like let's deconstruct superheroes.
Yeah,
That's literally what
it's
it's
just like
that's in line with
yeah,
like the
it's
Alan
just
Moore
it's all
stuff and
Alan
like
Moore
the
stuff, and it's just like you know,
I forget what's the name who created the boys, but it's like the whole
it's like
deconstruction
you know
of
the
superheroes.
whole
Like,
thing of
let's take your precious heroes because superheroes are for man babies.
right.
Like,
Because that's all it ever comes down to is just like, and I mean, like I said, I love the boys, I love Invincible, but you know, you have to be honest.
did you hear about like, Invincible like not having like that good of like season? Because I haven't watched season 2, and honestly, I've kind of fell off. I was like, I kind of don't care anymore. Because here's the thing, I didn't read the comics when they
Yeah.
first came out. I didn't. I was like, I didn't care about the art style. I love Ryan Ali style, but overall, like for that story, I didn't care for it. And overall, it just felt like too long. I was like, okay, what's this really? And until it obviously got to like, the twists. But going into like this season, like, I don't know. Why do I care?
No, I dig it.
Why do
I
care
dig
about
it.
this?
That's kind of like how you feel about Invincible is like how I feel about the boys. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the same thing where I'm just like, I'll get to it when I get to it. You know. But like,
Yeah. Now, granted, I actually did enjoy The Boys to some degree, as much as like I hate like the whole trite perspective of
what
like,
if Superman went evil?
superheroes and superpowered people just being. Well, not just that, but just like everybody. Because
Yeah.
it's not just Superman. Like Superman
Like,
is evil.
what if
but
Flash, but evil?
literally, it's a commentary. It's like your superpowered people are all bad people. Every single one of them. Oh, by the way, even Huey, he's got like, and it's a good like again like commentary and breakdown of just like people being involved with power. Obviously, Billy Butcher is just not a good person as well. But it's like the whole anti-rogue hero, the very rough guy. Like, yeah, I may do things in a crappy way, but I'm still a good guy because I'm not a stoop. Like, got it. It's the dark British hopeless myriad of perspective.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't know. I'm cool with it to a degree, but I'm just like, all right, I'm. Sometimes you gotta be like, all right, we're over this.
Can't wait for Superman and the Authority.
Yeah.
When that happens, to see how that plays.
Which is, I think that's pretty much.
I mean, I literally hope it plays out exactly like what's wrong with truth, justice, and the American way.
Isn't that? Wasn't that basically Superman in the Elite? Like, yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I mean, that was the original title for like the comic, but then that's such a long thing for the animation, so it's like just call it Superman the Elite. But it's essentially that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that was a pretty good story.
No, it was a really good story, and it literally was like Grant Morrison, like, hey, I don't care for this too much, but it's like I want to understand why are people upset about Superman being a Boy Scout? Why is that such an irritating thing?
Like,
It's
over time,
because it's just so unrelatable.
and like I
It's
said, I think it's
Yeah.
a maturity thing. Like, whereas like sometimes I think about it now, like when I was a kid, like and even like 10, 12 years ago, it used to be like, man, I don't understand Superman. Superman don't make sense. This, and this, and like as I've gotten older, and like more cynical about like certain things and just the way politics work and things like that, I'm like, I totally get Superman now. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like you need that. You need that. Like, when I think about a real life example of it would be, I'm pretty sure like in your travels online, you've seen like Michael the Librarian. You know what I'm saying? So, Michael the Librarian, the guy that's like, big on, hey kids, just read and stuff like that. He's got kind of light skinned dude, like kind of crazy hair.
No, I haven't seen this at all.
So here's this guy
check it out.
online. He's been on TikTok and stuff like that. But he's just a librarian, and he's just like, hey, I'm just here. I'm a librarian. I love my job. I just want people to read. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very happy, and he's very bright, and he's very like cheery and stuff like that. And he's very much like a Mr. Rogers type. You know what I'm saying? And he's super duper positive. And that's all he wants to be. That's all he. Yeah, very much so. Like, because I think like PBS is like, I think PBS ended up giving him a job. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
like
Okay.
the bottom line is like you see a guy like that, you know what I'm saying, where he don't really have baggage. He's just a dude that's just like, hey everybody, go to your library, get a library card, read. The library is a great place because he absolutely
Yeah.
loves that. You know what I'm saying? And that's all he cares about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Is encouraging people to read, encouraging children to read, adults, all these other things. And so that's all he puts out is just positive stuff, you know. And so, you know,
Yeah.
some people who are cynical and jaded, they attacked him online, you know, and just were like, people were getting weirder, this, and this, and then like the internet basically just dumped on that person and was just like, yo, you know what I'm saying, like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
like
should.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, like you need people like this. You know what I'm saying? You need people like this who are just
Yeah.
genuine people trying to make the world better.
The cynicism is what's killing
Yeah,
people inside. The cynicism is
yeah, and it was just like, and that's
so many
this
good things. And the sad part about it is, it can exist in
right.
every single one of
You know
us.
what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna lie. I've had moments where I'm just like super cynical about things, and like just because I feel that way doesn't mean it equates to good. Doesn't mean that it should necessarily, um, defend is like no, it's good to be
Right,
cynical. No.
right. But like, you know, the whole point of it is like a guy like that is like you need guys like that. You need that type of
Yeah.
you know, just somebody that's just a good ass person that's just like trying to do good in the world. You know what I'm saying? And like that's all they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need that. You know what I mean? Not somebody with an agenda.
Yeah.
You know, who's just like, oh man, you know, I'm trying to do this nefarious thing, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They're just like, hey, I'm just here because I absolutely love
Yep.
this, and I want to share this with people, and I feel like people just need to experience this. You know, um, like you absolutely need that. And so like going back to this, the whole point with Superman, I'm like, Superman is a person that's needed. You know what I'm saying? So you know like. And some, I think people get mad at that, like, you know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, for younger me, I was just like, you know, there's no reason he would be that good all the time. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's just like it's not about like him being that good all the time. It's the fact that like,
It's about you feeling like that's an
Yeah.
attack on you and your character just because like you do like very, you know, just
Right.
lots of good things, and like when it passes,
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is how the rest of the
No.
world should be because I like it. It's good, so you should be, doing things that are degrading or consider like the
Right.
drug society.
and it's just like he doesn't need to be that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what makes him special, especially in a world where everybody is like, you know, less than like forthcoming about whatever, and people are just, you don't have people who are just like, hey, I'm just trying to be raised right. I'm just trying to, do my life and, you know what I'm saying, trying to help people. And that's it. That's all I want to do. Just be a good person to help people, And,
Yeah, because I feel like there's like this premium on like, no, it should be like everything. It should stand against. It should be everything that's opposite. Like, things. It's like, well, man, like, why do you still go to church, man? That's so, man. No one
Right.
does that anymore. Like, why, like, try to like be upright in the sense of like, yeah, people talk about like being law abiding. It says but there's things that
morally-
people are doing. It's like, dude, like, it shouldn't matter. It's like you should be able to, say and do anything you want. It's like in this world, we should be able to move beyond having certain norms, be taboo or bad. And I think that's where it comes down to as well, where it's like, there's definitely like, again, not to like punch down on like Britain, but it's like that was basically one of the things I remember, like, especially because like Britain has had a lot of like times where like society did want to like rise up and rebel against like government because sometimes they were doing honestly some really bad stuff. But with that whole historical stuff that's like going on, it created like a culture, the rebellious culture, especially like the punk scene over in Britain as well. It's like it was very like, well, no, it's like, yeah, stand up against the man and down with the queen, like that kind of stuff that we like, stereotype in here. But it's like that was a real thing.
Yeah, and like I mean, you always have those definite acts of rebellion and things like that that are kind of needed. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Yeah, rebel against the bad stuff, but it's like wholesale. It's like, whoa, let's talk about this. That's literally where like um, what's his name from like Superman and the Elite, like something Black. I'm forgetting his first
Manchester
name, but
Black.
it's like he's like, no, we should
It was Manchester
who?
Black.
Manchester, yeah, Manchester Black. It's a very British name. He's like, oh no, like literally, we should be
Well,
killing all
no,
villains. Like,
no, because here's the thing: when you kill all the villains, one, you create more villains, but two, at some point, if you kill all the villains, you still need a purpose, and if you don't have a purpose, you start making villains. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
that's where you get into the slippery slope. It's just like it's very similar to what Cap said in Civil War. It was just like if the government tells you who the bad guys are, then eventually you're not fighting bad guys. You're fighting who the government doesn't like.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a that's
So we'll see how that turns out. Like once they get to that, and like who knows, like what that would be like if like because like again like things that could be announced, even though like in James We Trust, Mr. Gunn, even on his watch, like things can get postponed or delayed or even canceled. But we'll see. But it'll be interesting to kind of like come to that point where it's like, yeah, Superman's here, and I'm really curious on how they're gonna portray Superman. I'm very looking forward to it, but I'm also very curious like what this Superman will look and feel like.
I'm interested to see because I feel like he's gonna be the one thing like I said, he's definitely gonna be very different from what's the name, like as far as like how Snyder did him. God dang it. Like,
Yeah,
so you're gonna have him very very different from how Snyder did him, and it's that's gonna be the biggest thing about that, like, is seeing what he does, like, because he's gonna have to, like, the first time you see Superman, it's gonna be the whole thing of like, okay, we know what type of person this is, we know what type of person we're dealing with,
yeah,
and I think that's gonna be the litmus test. So, and even like, because I think about like My Adventures with Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I actually like that show. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was a pretty quality show. You know, but My Adventures with Superman, like, they set the tone immediately. And
yeah.
I always thought that was really cool that they did what they did. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, that's important. Like the tone you literally have to like get across really quick, and that's what I love about certain movies, like or TV shows. Like take for instance, Wesley Snipes' Blade movie will always be the most amazing thing, outside of it being like the thing that helped Marvel like get out of they did go to bankrupt, but it's like get out of like a very bad time with like the entertainment movie side of things because it made them like a good amount of money. And I will say this to the day that I die, that movie, in my opinion, like benefits from that opening scene. Like, listen, even though it was in the '90s, I get it. It does so much to set the entire tone of that universe of vampires. Like, that's the one thing I'm questioning Marvel. What are you gonna do? You have not introduced vampires at all, and you want to have this like Disneyfied like universe like with your MCU. What is that gonna look like? Will there be vampires actually biting people's necks? Will there be
Here's
blood?
what I really hope.
I don't even
I
know if
hope
I've seen
that,
blood.
like,
Really,
when they do Deadpool, or when we see Deadpool, the biggest thing I hope is that we actually see like how he like how this rated R outing goes, because that's gonna be the telltale sign of, I think, how they fix Blade. Because I know they're always.
it would be very tragic. It would be tragic if it was like akin, maybe not exactly, but akin to like what we got with Echo. It's like hide your kids, hide your wives. This is going to be the most disgusting TM rating, or what is it? or what is it? Well, I forget like what's the rating for like basically the equivalent to like rated R
Yeah.
for like TV. But like when they were saying like, okay, this is gonna be the most like dangerous thing you ever watch. So be on the lookout, be prepared, brace yourselves. This is hide your kids,
Right.
hide your wives. And we thought it was like this is the most milk toast thing
Yeah.
ever. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, you know,
Yeah.
I really hope that they do it right. You know, because I know a lot of people were just complaining like, how come Blade has went through so many writers? You know, because like, how hard is it to make a movie about vampires? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Vampires,
I don't know how,
exactly,
like, I
and
don't
that's
get
the
that
thing,
either.
is like,
Why is it so hard to make a movie about vampires? Like, you know,
because we're too busy trying to figure out to do
yeah,
something
it's
else.
just like, dude, just
You heard about like them like trying to make it about his
like
daughter.
no, like
and,
don't
first of
worry
all,
about like that's the whole thing. And I
she doesn't need to be part of the Young Avengers. Like little, she that's the only reason why they're doing that too. Like I know she's in the comics, but it's like I remember when I heard that too. That kind of irritated me. Not because he has a daughter versus a son, but just the fact that like, first of all, there's certain characters I don't want them to have offsprings, or even that to have like a family dynamic that's like by blood. Maybe a found family is okay, but like you know, like Avatar, where it's like, oh, like you know, different people from different backgrounds coming together to become a family. I like that, but like Blade works so good when he's this gruff loner. I mean, same thing with Mandalorian. It's like even though like you give him Grogu, still has the very like loner cowboy western, but it's like even with his plethora of like other friends that are around him, he's still kind of like his
Right.
own person. There's this mystique and like this like you know there's this vagueness to like you know not seeing his face was like one of the best parts about it. Obviously, when you saw his face twice, you know, took away from
Yeah.
that a little bit, but thankfully they put that junk
yeah,
right back.
well, I think
But it's like you need that.
I think
And
the
with
whole
Blade,
thing
I
with that is they
specifically
definitely
remember.
learned, you know, that's what killed what's his face? What's the dude's name? Kylo Ren. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The minute I saw his face, I was like, I mean, yeah, I knew who the actor would look like, but I was like, the fact that you showed me his face, I lost all
Yeah.
interest.
Like the moment he took his helmet off, I was like, I don't even care anymore.
And they doubled down, and it's like, no, you're gonna see his
Yeah.
face and fear him.
Like that was the worst move like ever. It's just like basically being like, yeah, Kylo Ren, you know, we're gonna show him, and then like
He's the next Darth
his
Vader.
character was just like completely ruined at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and on top of that, like doing like the comedy they did, like listen, the original Star Wars had some comedy in it, but it's like it fit the tone, and the beats were just like not awkward. I don't know what is it about like. Maybe maybe I'm becoming that old man who's screaming at the clouds, but it's like there's just something about like how comedy was done mixed in with like action movies and sci-fi movies that like just
Yeah.
was good. Yeah, I guess I am. I guess I'm on that old man tinfoil.
Yeah,
So
Chester
box.
J. Smiles. What's
Yeah,
going
there's just
on?
something about it
How
that
my
like
audio?
more-
You said my audio's muted. That's weird. Yeah.
Your audio's muted or mine?
Hold up. Let me see something real quick.
Wait,
I'm trying to
yours or
figure
mine?
out.
Okay. But anyway, I guess I'll keep talking a little bit. But you know, with the whole Blade thing, and I'll even say with the whole daughter thing, I gotta look it up because like now that like as I get older, I kind of am a little like I have like the meme from like Futurama, like Fry, and like looking kind of squinting. It's like, is it this or maybe is it this? I literally think like whoever created like Blade's daughter saw the first Blade movie.
That's two.
That scene when he's in the Vampire
Yeah.
Archives. Literally, there's like this young black girl, you know, teenager, like sitting down, and like Blade tries to help her up with everything. She's like a little scared girl, whatever. Turns out she's one of the vampires as well, and she basically like whoops his tail, like she like shatters, like kicks him through like a glass window, whatever. And I can just imagine like whoever created her saw that. It was like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I think that might be it. So.
I gotta look it up because like I wonder sometimes because you know it's interesting when you hear things from like creators, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like it kind of like when you know certain things, when you've like watched enough stuff, you like you got that
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
That's just my tinfoil hat idea about things. Though.
Yeah, I can see that. So I don't know, man. Like,
And again, it's not a bad thing.
okay,
It's not a bad thing because like I think about like other characters who've had like sons and daughters, whatever. Just like if you're gonna do that, put them somewhere else. Like make them like have their. I mean, I don't know because like even with like Damian Wayne, like his introduction, I'm glad it was Talia's child and not Selena
okay,
because like I like the fact that Damien's just like a little turd and he's kind of grown out of that a little bit. But overall, it's like he's just like yeah, Batman is like seen for the most part as like this like unfeeling
test two, test
like,
two, test two.
force of nature as Batman, but it's like he's still
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne underneath, and like Damien is just like 100% of the times like nope, assassin, kill, Chucky, kill.
Mm-hmm.
it's like dude, you need to calm down. Like I love honestly the arcs where like him and Dick were together, like especially like when Dick took over as Batman for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Well,
run.
Damian was the only he was the only Robin that like Dick ever respected. You know what I'm saying? Or Robin was or Dick was the only Dick was the only Robin that Damian respected. Let me get that right.
Oh, the Damian.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't respect like Jason, but it's like
Yeah.
Tim was
Nah,
cool.
he like he didn't think much of any of the other Robins. Like that was his thing. He was just like, you know, you got. He basically was like, you know, you guys are.
Well, in one sense, there's kind of this arrogance, like I'm his actual son, By
yeah, but
blood,
it's.
so
I think it's something about the first Robin, or it's just something about like Dick, like that. Damian was just like, I look at you as a big brother.
well,
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Well, the fact that also too that like there's a little bit of a rebellious side to like Dick because like you think about it, it's like yeah, like there's a point where it's like I'm tired of living in your shadow, I'm doing my own thing, blah blah blah, and then it just really became about like okay, Bruce, like I'm my own man now, and I still love you and respect you because you're still like my father figure, but yeah, I'm my own man now. But yeah, so maybe there's some of that too because like Damien's all about the rebellion. He's all about the rebellion.
Yeah, he is. He very much is. So, but yeah, like that's what I think. That's what I think too. Is like, you know, basically, like, I think that's was because like that was the thing that like made me really like Damian was, you know, Batman Inc. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, like, I just kind of was, I was just kind of like, it's all right. And so when you had the finale of Batman Inc., you know, I was just like, that was such a good way, like, you know, to pretty much bring everything together. I understand that, you know, he wouldn't kill. I know, like, because Damian was like, they were kind of pushing Damian a lot. I figured they would never kill. They would never kill him permanently. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was just a big thing for them to use him.
Yeah, when that happened, like it was a good story, but like
yeah, I always thought it was a really good story. So
I loved it too, especially because like when Pat Gleason was drawing, I was like, and I remember seeing like the actual pages for it too. I was like, jeez.
Yeah, it was such a good story, man. Like, and you know, between that and like another good story, in my personal opinion, is it's still always gonna be We Are Robin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the idea of We Are Robin.
Oh
like,
yeah.
And sometimes it makes me mad that like we're never gonna get like you know, these like somebody to really take the reins of ideas like that and turn them into miniseries. Everything don't need to be a movie. Everything don't need to be you know, it don't need to be a movie. It don't need to be a long ass 22 episode TV show with 7 seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, some things just need to be like little miniseries. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, We Are Robin will be great as like a 2 or 3 part miniseries, and you know, you just tell that story like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be freaking awesome. You know, but you know, money and all this other garbage and goofy stuff. You know what I mean? So, because
you just said it right there, money. But money.
Yeah, I know.
But money.
It's crazy.
But money. That's gonna be the new response for a lot of things. It's like, man, I think you should do your homework. It's like,
But money.
But money. It's like, wait, what does that have to do with? What does that have to do with? You make money. You're just like, shut up. It's like you should pay your peoples, man. You shouldn't do AI stuff. But money.
That's what it always comes down to. But money.
Speaking of the AI stuff, like that's part of the reason too, like why I posted that little thing I did on the stories. Like, okay, so we're gonna get to a point where it's like when the AI prompters, that's their title, are like, well, it takes skill to prompt. Like, well, listen,
it's tinkering.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it's like, what makes you think that this is a skill that is hidden from everybody else, which therefore nullifies the need or even want to pay for you to do it when I can do it myself?
Here's the thing. And see, I would say that and raise you this. It's like, does anybody ever think that like the person, when you do a created character in a video game, a created wrestler like in a WWE 2K24, or like a created character in like a fighting game or anything like that, or like a costume design, are you creating art at that point? No, you're using the tools and like the elements that are given to you to like make this.
I'm gonna send you the video because it was
this. You're using the tools of the art to make this particular thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah,
you're not creating anything like out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because like some of these debates where it's like they'll go into like what's the word I'm looking for? Semantics on how they like, you know, kind of slip and dip and dive to like get out of certain like argumentative situations. And I hate arguments. I really do. I hate debates overall, but it's like when they trying to present things, it's like, well, it depends on your definition of art, because that was another thing, like, you know, the fact that art is subjective, which I do believe in whole, you know, as a truth, art is subjective. That being said, there's things that people do not like, and whether it's their subjective opinion or not, you know, they can objectively say, this is true that I do not like this, and I do not respond to this well. But when it comes to like classifying art as like, is art something you have to do with your hands? Because okay, well, digital art, I'm doing this with my hands right now, because like people used to think that like, oh, well, this is not art, like in the beginning of like the digital age of like doing comics. It's like, oh, that's not real comic art. It's like, why? Because I'm doing it on the computer. This is a piece of paper. It's like, no, I'm doing it with my hands. Like now the new debate is like, well, I'm using my words, this concept that's in my head, which I could say, let's play devil's advocate, say like someone like me, you know, and where I'm at my skill level, I still have a lot to learn. I'm not by any means like have arrived as like a master in my own eyes, but I think I'd have a decent enough skill. With my decent enough skill, if I'm going to draw something like, say this, what would be the difference of being creative or being an artist and putting this rendering with my hand versus letting the machine do it based off my words? That's their argument now. Splitting hairs, but
yeah, that's not the. I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, you are doing something. You're creating something that didn't exist before. You know, what they're doing is creating something that's based on something that a machine learned or a program learned to do from people who created from nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, and so one of the stupidest things,
that's why I say that the whole creative character thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've seen some people do some really cool creative characters. So if you're doing these really cool creative characters in video games, are you artists? You know what I'm saying? You know what? Yeah, you're literally just using the tools that are available to you. You know, and you're making something unique. But you're still using the tools that are available to you and like nothing more.
And that's honestly what some people are debating too. It's like, well, hey, listen, AR is just a tool. I'm the artist and I'm using this program as a tool to present or to create, to output a piece that I want. You know, it's not like the AI is doing it by itself.
It's based on like everyone else's work. It's nothing. You're never going to create anything out of thin air. You know.
Yeah, there's some of these like uber deep like debaters like for AI enthusiasts, whatever, that you'll never catch them like admitting that. They'll say it's like, no, it's like there's no proof to say that like it was based off of one particular image or one particular style. It's thousands, and it's like, hey, I'm not saying that that's not wrong. I'm just saying that the fact that it is, out of those thousands, there are pieces of data, artwork that come from specific creators, people who did not give consent for that data to be used for that. I just think it all, for me, it really comes down to a simple thing. If you want to do AI art or whatever for fun, not to see the light of day, even, but even if you did to post just for like, hey, this is my fun. Like, there's one guy that I follow on Instagram. I'm not gonna say his name on here, but like you probably seen his stuff. He posts like, what if like, like Dragon Ball Z, but with like black characters. Like, okay, that's fun, that's cool. And he puts it up front. It's like, yeah, this is AI rendering. I'm just here to like, and even though like I somewhat appreciate the disclosure, it doesn't help for the overall argument of like what is happening within the community, and even the industry at this point with AI renditions. If you are looking for compensations, like, oh, here's something I again did, because I almost think of like, okay, if the AI creates, no, the AI should get paid. It's like, and they would say, no, that concept is stupid. It's like, no, I said for it to do this. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's really.
there shouldn't be. I honestly wish there was like a law that's like if you use AI anything, like you can't be compensated for it. You can't sell it.
Right.
They're not going to do that. They're never going to do that. But I kind of wish that was, because that's what it comes down to. It's like you just want to get paid to do something you basically wanted to skip the line to do. You wanted to come to the front of the line. That's what you wanted really badly because you didn't want to put in the work or the effort or the training, or even if you did have like some, you felt that it wasn't good enough. Which, hey, that's just how it is sometimes. But like that one girl who like got kicked out of San Diego last year for like bringing in AI artwork, and many people pointed out, it's like, dude, like her stuff wasn't that bad, her actual original stuff, and it really reminded me of like men or women who decide to get plastic surgery. Who's like, dude, you're a beautiful woman, you're a handsome dude. You didn't need plastic surgery, but felt like, no, I need it because I need this specific, attention. I need this specific response from people by the way that I look. And it was so sad. I was like, man, that's what it felt like. And she gambled and she got kicked out. And I don't even know if like she'll be let back into future San Diego's, because apparently, like from what I was told, is like she's been there in previous years. So I'm like, you know how hard it is to get in San Diego?
Yeah, like I think it's
yeah, because you haven't been, right? I haven't been.
You know what I'm saying? Like I know that's like a task in itself. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, it's just sad stuff.
It's just like, man, you really did kind of screw the pooch on this one. You know what I'm saying? So, it's
yeah, and then also just like, I mean, maybe you don't care about it, and I guess that's fine. But it's like you really kind of disavow like your connection and relationship with like the hardworking artists and creators in this community, because like we're a very small community, like compared to like Hollywood and everything. We're just like a fraction upon a fraction of a fraction in regards to the entertainment community.
Right.
But yet I still consider us a part of the entertainment community. I heard one of my mentors told me this analogy that like comics is like, if you can imagine like a entertainment totem pole, comics is at the very bottom. At the very top is Hollywood, but comics is the very bottom. But the reason why they're on the totem pole is because they work in the same way in regards to the industry, as far as it's a very word of mouth, who you know, or it's about who you know, and being able to get jobs through networking. But also there's like the political stuff that happens as well. Like obviously in Hollywood you have like drama. In comics you have drama. You have the superstars, and you have the stories. You hear the stories about like Jack and Stan and all that stuff. So there's definitely that stuff. But that's why they're there, and I always appreciated that because like it just kind of gave me like a good sense of like, not to say that like it's all like dramatic and gossipy bad stuff, but like some of that can be in there, and some people are divas in like the industry, and it definitely can have that Hollywood feel. And yet we are part of the industry that gives Hollywood the source material, because like I was listening to the podcast with like Joe Quesada and what's it called, Mark Millar, and they were talking about Hollywood's desperate for source material right now. Think about it. We've reached the apex of like the MCU, because like they basically did the biggest, baddest thing they could do with like Endgame and Secret War, or not Secret War, but like Infinity Wars and Endgame. That was the apex and pinnacle. Everything else they've done since then,
Right.
bottom of the barrels.
Yeah. And that's really what it is, you know.
So why not humble out, which they wouldn't do, but humble out, pay the publishing side of things, pay Marvel Comics, put cash and listen, we're the the comic side of things in total, which means Marvel, DC, and all the other publishers that follow behind that, whether it's like Image, Dark Horse, all the way down to Xenoscope, make a total of $1 billion total a year. 1 billion, just one, compared to like every other form of like media entertainment. And it's just crazy to think about. It's like,
It's almost like
as
the space
artists and
program.
writers can't have health
That's
insurance.
almost, that's almost if you think
Yeah,
about it, that's almost like, you know, adding like uh, 1% to the space program. You know what I'm saying? Because if you added
exactly.
1% to the space program, like the advantages and everything that we would have, like, because I think that's what the story is like. If you, because I think right now, like the space program, like of your taxpayer dollars, like I think it's like 20% of 1 penny goes to the space program. So if you did 1 full cent to the space program out of your tax dollars, like uh, basically it would be ridiculous of what you would
Hey,
get.
hey, what's going on?
You know.
You can guy be moving,
Exactly.
The problem is, this guy's connected with some big shots.
That's even
Otherwise,
crazier because the fact that you brought that up, it actually I totally forgot about that because like when I think about like things that I am actively aware that my tax dollars go to, and then things that I'm like, wait, why are we paying for this? Why am I paying for this?
Right. Yeah. It's yeah.
Because
Basically,
money.
it's because money.
But anyway, I don't know who else is still here. Like, by the way, like I wish I could see like how many people are actually like talking and like actually being
On my end,
on like the Twitch side.
like basically, we had the one guy yesterday. Sometimes he was in here for a second. He dipped out, and then I killed the Instagram stream just because Instagram stream like nothing. So
Yeah, I think Instagram Live is dead, unless it's just like our accounts. Because like I have not. Well, I'm trying to think. Well, actually, no, I do see people go live, but it's like very specific people, specifically women. Just leave it at that. But it's like also the very big people. Like obviously someone like Lupe is gonna go live and they will have like 14,000 people tune in. But yeah, it's like the commoner man. That's dead. And I'm still trying to work on getting enough numbers of where I can get a live for TikTok. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I feel like in my lifetime, because man,
I keep saying I'm gonna do something on TikTok, and like it's just like I can't really figure out what to do on TikTok.
wait, are you talking about like making content, or are you talking about like doing a live?
Otherwise,
yeah.
it's just like, oh, hey, I can post arts, the stuff that I already have with art, but that's very limited. And so I'm thinking now.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested what I should do is I should just like, do a lot of the shit that I do when I train, and then just post a book like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, it's okay. That's okay, I guess. But it's
Wait, do you? Out of curiosity, do you have any like girls that like your gym that you train with or like know of?
yeah,
That,
it's a few girls that I train with.
Yeah, you
at
too.
my gym, you know what I'm saying? You know,
you should like see if they could do like a set or
I
something.
should definitely see this. Just see if they're interested in this. Something I was thinking about doing though.
Yeah.
Especially like just because it's been an idea that's been kicking around in my head was doing my punches and brunches thing where I just want to like I want to do a stream where it's just like me probably talking about like some obscure regional fight or something like that, and like just basically like doing it on a Sunday morning while I'm like kind of cooking breakfast or whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
It just be something like kind of interesting like that. Something that I ain't gonna get flagged on copyright on, you know, and you know, kind of do that. You know, I know right now the way my situation is I'm like on Sunday night or Sunday mornings, you know, I go to the gym and like I'll go and like do my sparring training. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause they usually have open sparring
Yeah.
on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. So like I'll go and do that, and then like beyond that, like I'll be back at the crib. So you know, I ain't really doing nothing right now. You know what I mean? So it's just like that would
Yep.
be that could be an idea. You know, and it would be a very unique idea that you know I would sit there and watch like you know amateur fights on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? So it's really nothing. You know?
Yeah.
And I just started thinking about that, like, that could be a thing, and then, like I said, as long as I wouldn't get flagged, you know what I'm saying, like, because I can't do a UFC thing, I can't, like, review any UFC stuff, because I'll get flagged, you know, other people's stuff, you know what I'm saying, stuff that's in freaking whatever, you know, far off country, you know what I'm saying, like, the chances are I'll get flagged off that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's gotta be stuff like, and this what tripped me out, man. Like I was telling Christina, like, yo, you need to do this, and this, you know, because she got all these followers, she got all these people that.
It's like I don't gotta do nothing. Say black and die.
Ah,
I love that line. Ever since I heard that line, it's like that's all I want to respond with in every single thing when someone tries to say, like,
yeah,
"Can you do this?"
yeah,
It's
no.
like,
But she always, it's funny because she always looking for things to expand her stuff. Because she do the voice acting stuff, and she'll make little TikTok videos and stuff like that.
wait, is that her? I mean, actually, asking about her like main gig. This one I was gonna ask, like, is that her
What?
main gig? Like, does she do like full-time voice acting?
Pretty much.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's just basically, but the way it works for real is she gets jobs. All her jobs are like kind of sporadic, so like she don't have a real steady stream of income. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, has she done like stuff that we've seen? Like, has she
a
done like
couple of
anime
games. She's
stuff
done a
or
couple
like
of games,
cartoons?
like indie games and stuff like that. That's what I know.
Okay,
You know
bet.
what I'm saying? So I know she's got other projects that she's working on that she can't talk about because of NDAs and all that. But like,
Yeah.
you know, basically like that's the main thing that she's doing. She's just always trying to get like more work. You know, and I know she does like every now and again she does modeling stuff. Like if they give her a call or whatever.
Yeah.
But like her whole thing is she's trying to get away from that. You know what I'm saying? Like going out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. She just feel like it's not as frequent as it needs to be. So she like I need more.
Oh,
I need more
yeah.
consistent money. And on top of that, the fact that I think it's because she in Houston, she don't. You know, she can only get so many opportunities. I think if she was in LA or if she was in New York, she could like get a lot of gigs.
I'm surprised to hear that because like I was assuming that Texas was like, I mean, because I don't know. I guess I don't know like the that south. I guess it's considered southwest corner. Yeah, that's southwest. I don't know why it's called west. Yeah, like southwest corner of the world. Like has some things that is kind of like akin to like
Houston
LA
is
because
a-
like
Houston
you
is
know
a
you think
big
about like
city.
Georgia is become the new like Black Hollywood.
Yeah, no,
So like that's that. But like you think that Texas like
From what I understand, like
has more like
Houston is a big city, but like entertainment in Houston is like as far as the entertainment industry goes in Houston, it's a little
It's a little more
like
niche.
limited, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like so,
Huh,
which is
interesting.
strange, but you know what I'm saying? Who knows? So
Yeah, it shows what I know.
so I think that might be the thing. Yeah, so but like I think you know, like if depending on what she wants to do, you know, like you only have so many opportunities. I know what ends up happening is she ends up having to fly out to LA to like do some of the better jobs and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah. And that can be tough too, because like you got to pay for that, like you know, for the flight and everything,
and,
hotel.
you know what I'm saying? She got a kid too, so you know that's the other.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, not to say that's but like, yeah, no, it's real as far as like
right.
the grind. I'm feeling that kind of like right now, or like recently, I've been like, yeah, I'm grateful I'm doing like the work on this, and then also the shadow agency, but it's like, yeah, I'm just thinking about like that, and I think we've talked about this before, like other like supplemental incomes as far as like, especially the kind of like stuff that like you don't even gotta think about, like
Right.
prints. I'm still trying to figure out how to like start selling prints online.
It's
Yeah.
gotta be a thing. It's gotta be a way. You know what I mean? Because I've been feeling like that too, where I just be like, I have a lot of.
I'm gonna start putting out more polls and stuff, because actually I think that's what I need to do, like as far as engage with like followers. Like if y'all would buy a print, like would you feel more inclined to buy it online or in person, or me ship it to you if you wanted it, if I had like an online catalog? Which, by the way, that's the thing I need to like build up a catalog of like different things, like basically what Marcus Williams has. It's like he literally has like a plethora, because this dude is a machine at just like making stuff, churning stuff out, but of like content and stuff that he can like put on. Like he literally, like at Emerald City, when I was talking to him, he had like a new portfolio book that basically I don't like that, has like just all the stuff that he's done, every single like Swaptober or different like concept thing he's had, like the whole Popeye thing, just in a book and binder where people can flip through. It's like, oh, I want that. Okay, bet. Let me print that for you.
Right. That's amazing.
That's it.
Like right now, man,
Yeah.
I'm doing a little flip. I got my little portfolio with all the little posters and art and stuff like that. And it's certain pictures
Yeah.
that I'm realizing that go really hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so for example, the cover of issue 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, I sold out of like all of the
Yeah.
prints I have. You know what I'm saying? And so, because I made a little poster of it, and I was like, okay, do something good. And, I'm always leery. I'm like, man, I'm not like, people want to see this one and give a middle finger or whatever. But like, people are just like on it, and they're just like, yo, I want this poster. I want this poster. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same people who's like, oh man, that's awesome, man. Hey, can you have one of like Batman like killing the Joker violently?
Yeah, but like, so yeah, but that was the thing with that. Was just like, okay, people really want this stuff, so okay, I guess I'll make it happen.
I'll give it to you.
But yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, so again, issue 7, I had pretty much, I had like. I sold I sold out, and this was actually yesterday. I sold like 2 prints of it yesterday, and then like, so I was completely surprised, like, holy crap, And so now I just made an order for more, and then I made an order for some other images that I have, and I just been filling out this portfolio book to have people flip through it, and like people get super interested. It's like I've had guys that like just wanted the prints and didn't care about the story. They just like, hey, this art looks cool. Like, right,
yeah.
Cool. But I guess it's definitely a thing. But
no, absolutely.
I definitely got to figure out how to make this whole situation work, man. Like the streaming and all that stuff. That's the other thing I was gonna tell you is like, I think what I'm gonna try to do in the next probably like. When we get done with 6, I'm thinking I'm gonna try to do a Kickstarter, but do it as a pre-order, and like basically kind of set up the cover for it. Like maybe have a different cover for issue 6 for specifically the pre-orders, and it'll probably be that Kill Bill cover. You know what I'm saying? Since I already got that, and I don't have to do much art to it. So
yeah,
it'll probably be that, and then just set it low. And see if we can get like more people to do pre-orders, and like have extra stuff.
I didn't even know that
Yeah.
was a thing. Okay, so because I didn't know
Yeah,
that was like
so because that's what I was.
okay.
I asked a friend about it yesterday, or not yesterday, but Friday. I asked her about it. This woman who does like several, successful Kickstarter orders, like or several successful Kickstarters, and I was like, so
Several.
how would you like how good would that how good of an idea would that be if you did you know the Kickstarter and it had like uh, whatever, like it was just like the book was already done, but you're just trying to sell pre-orders, you're trying to sell pre-order perks and kits and stuff like that. And she was like, honestly, I do that for most of my books. It's like, well, we'll say less, you know what I mean? So because
Hmm.
yeah,
Say
because I'm
less,
like,
B.
because like I said, as I think about it, um, if the roadmaps are okay for the next few months, you know what I'm saying, like as far as the conventions go, because I pretty much got a convention like um, from June to probably October. I have a convention every month. You know what I'm saying? At least one. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like basically like I would have the money like between like me putting up the money, I would have the money to you know have like issue 7, you know what I'm saying, maybe if everything goes right and if you don't get snapped up by anybody if you don't get snapped up by anybody, like we might be able to like crank out issue 7 and have it out by like the fall, you know what I'm saying? So that would be that would be an ideal scenario, you know what I mean? So um, but yeah, I think about that and like having issue 6 and like having the Kickstarter stuff ready, um, you know, that would be cool because I could just be like, okay, if you pay for this tier, you get a shirt, or you do this or whatever, you know what I mean? So and it looks like Charles just dropped out on me. Womp womp womp. So my man's dropped out. Oh man. All right.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's all
Disconnected.
good. I was wondering what was up, but yeah, no, it's straight.
What were you saying?
What were you saying?
No, all I was saying was like basically between now and October I got a convention every month, um, and so
Nice.
pretty much how it's looking is like I have at least one convention every month between now and October. Except for well, I'm sorry, starting in June, I have a convention, at least one convention every month. You know, because I don't have any conventions in
Okay.
May, and like the way my job is set up, apparently I can't take off work in May. So I don't know, it's weird stuff. But um, like from June to October, I have at least one convention, and I think obviously in if July works out, if July really works out, I'll have three. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it just don't work out on the low, then I'll just have the two. You know what I mean? I'll just have or rather just the one in DreamCon. But yeah, like figuring that stuff out and putting out like more stuff to or putting out more stuff to like to make more money and get this stuff faster. If we do the Kickstarter, the pre-order Kickstarter for issue 4 or issue 6, and be like, hey, we're just getting pre-orders. We got different tiers, shirts, posters, whatever, and then as soon as it gets done, I start shipping stuff out to people. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, oh, you already got your books, you
Yeah.
already got everything, you know. And then basically like, the next thing is like we keep on cooking, and then we try to do that for like issue 7, you know, and just see how that works,
Yeah.
and just like I'm not worried about the production at that point. I'm not worried about the production of the book, but I am like, it would help to like ease the financial burden. You know what I'm saying? Like if we hit like a certain number. So if I hit like, you know, here's like I do this Kickstarter and it's like, okay, we raise like $1,500. You know what I'm saying? The goal was 500, but we raised $1,500. You know, and you get X, Y, Z, and this, and this. You know, and so you get like that would ease the burden on like me reordering books or doing any type of shipping stuff or anything like that. So, and that would definitely help out a lot. You know, and like I said, I think it would go well to see how certain Kickstarter or how certain like demos and whatnot can play to you know, basically supporting the book and like making more people aware of the book, you know, because I mean at this point, like once I get 6 and 7 and then possibly 8, I mean I really want to focus on like I really hope to try to focus on building this audience more, you know, but I gotta do it another way because I can't spending all the money on ads and stuff like that was just like it ran me.
The ad stuff, man, like, and I understand like why you're doing it, but it's like that still irritates me to this day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's what it takes. Is essentially like it almost feels like the whole video game thing, pay to play.
Like the ads are the ads like ran me into the ground, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I spent so much money on ads and like you got diminishing returns. You know what I'm saying? So I had like. It would basically be like, hey, here's this ad for this, and you know, you only got like, I only got like, you know, like 300 people that followed me. You know what I'm saying? But like, I spent like, you know, $120 on an ad for like a week. You know what I mean? Now only 300 people followed me, and like, I'm kind of like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So. It's just hard, man. That whole aspect is just hard, and so streaming is easy, but streaming is hard because streaming is one of those things where it's like I have to consistently do it, and because I haven't consistently done it,
exactly,
like you know, it's been an issue. But I do want to figure out. I am going to figure out this audio thing, and see if I could like kind of get that going. But I was gonna say, man, like right now we probably about like a little under 2 hours, like about an hour and 47 minutes on the stream. If you cool with killing it, I'm cool with killing it. You know what I mean? Today.
Yeah.
Hey, it's good. Yeah, we good.
And what page is that?
This is 13.
This is 13.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm about to finish this up.
Yeah, so I'm about to finish this up. Just add the backgrounds and then send it through.
Yeah. So all right, bet. That's what's up, man. So yeah, we'll you know, like I said, you should see the other stuff soon, and so you know, as soon as that gets done, like that'll be what's up. I'm just super excited, man, because it's like, wait, it just clicked to me like the other day, like, wait, we almost done with this thing, you know what I mean? And so it like I'm still trying to process that part right now. Because it seems like this issue 6 seems like this mythical issue at this point, you know. So, but yeah, man, we'll get together, and like I said, I'll talk to you about the other stuff, like, you know, later on, and like we'll make it happen. So, but
What other stuff?
You know, just talking
specifically
shop stuff about, you know, the pages and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
But like I said, you'll see that like later on this week, and we'll kind of go from there. So,
For sure.
But, all right then, man. I'm about to go ahead and close this out. So,
All right, man.
all right, Joe.
All right, man. Later.